From food to lodging to splurging on local wines, here's exactly what I spent over 41 days on the Camino Francés. Hi everyone, I am Melanie from Travel Light. I recently completed the Camino De Santiago, specifically the Camino Francés from Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port to Santiago de Compostela, and I tracked every single penny that I spent along the way. In this video, I'm going to break my expenses down into 6 categories. I'll reveal my daily spending average, sprinkle in budget tips that I learned along the way, and at the end, I will tell you my grand total for exactly what I spent on the Camino. If you love travel tips and hiking content, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn on notifications. We have a lot of insane adventures coming up for 2025, and you don't want to miss these videos. Okay, so let's dive in. This budget starts with the day that I arrived to Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, and it includes transportation to get there, not my international flight, but I took a bus and a train to get to Saint-Jean, so it includes those expenses. And it ends the day after I arrived to Santiago. And like I said, all in all, that is 41 days. One quick note, I am from the US, so I'm probably going to use the word dollars, which I'm referring to US dollars. And at the time of this video, a dollar is almost exactly equal to the euro. So it's interchangeable. The biggest expense on the Camino de Santiago, you might have guessed it, you have to eat 3 times a day, so it is food. So when I talk about food, my budget that I'm going to tell you for food, it includes all of my meals, snacks, and it also includes coffee. I had up to 3 coffees a day, sometimes 1, sometimes 2, often 3. And it also includes wine. So you are going to pass through wine country on the Camino Francés. You're going to want, unless you don't drink, you're going to want to have a few glasses of wine along the way. So this budget includes those 3 items. For breakfast, I usually had a coffee, a Spanish tortilla, which is actually kind of like an eggy quiche kind of thing, which really grew on me. In the beginning, I was like, I don't know about this. In the end, I'm like, give me all the tortilla that I can find. So I usually would have that and then a piece of bread with some butter or jam. So breakfast was always very simple. For lunch, I would either eat at a restaurant or some place that I found along my hike, or I would pack my lunch, which is a budget tip for you. Pack your lunch, get some food at a grocery store, and make a packed lunch. Like the albergue is probably going to have a refrigerator that you can use, so take advantage of that. Pack your lunch, it'll save you a ton of money along the way. And then for the dinner, I was usually eating the pilgrim menu, which you will find at most albergues, and it's going to be the best bang for your buck. I did make a group of friends along the way, and we would often go grocery shopping in the evenings when we got to whatever town we were staying in. We would go grocery shopping and then we would cook these really delicious meals. So if you're lucky and you find some people along the way who are good at cooking, stick with those people because you will eat some of the best meals you've ever had. The total cost that I spent in the food category is $1,287, which comes to $31 per day. Now, I was not on a super tight budget regarding food, so you can eat as cheap or as expensive as you'd like. Of course, it's all up to you. It also depends a lot on how much you're going to drink. Yes, the wine is cheap, but if you're having 4 glasses of wine a night or something like that, if you get into a really social vibe going on the Camino, which happens, and you're drinking a lot, that will increase your budget. I have a couple of tips for you when it comes to your food budget. One is to stay in albergues that have a kitchen. That means that you can go to the grocery store and cook some meals for yourself, which in the long run, if you do that several times, is gonna save you a good chunk of change. Another tip that I have for you, this is not a budget tip, but this is just a Camino tip in general. Enjoy the local delicacies. You may go out there with this idea that you have this really strict food budget, and I don't want you to stick to that budget and then a couple months later you're like, man, I really should have had that octopus in that town that was literally world famous for octopus. So just make sure that you mind your budget, but also enjoy the local delicacies of Spain, because there's so many unique things that you're going to want to try, and you should give yourself that experience. The second biggest cost that you are going to have on the Camino is, of course, lodging. You need somewhere to sleep each night. And luckily, the Camino provides a wide range of accommodation. I mean, you could spend as little as like under $10 per night, like $5, $6 per night. You could spend up to $60 per night. That was my range, from $5 to $60. So you can stay in the municipal albergues. That is going to be the cheapest option, but you cannot reserve those. You have to show up and hope that you get a bed, and you might. I often stayed at the private albergues, and those I was able to book in advance, so I knew where I was staying each night, and that helped me to just have some peace of mind and helped me to relax throughout the day. So there are all different types of accommodations, literally ranging from $5 to $60. And I'm sure there's ones that are even higher if you want to have a private room every single night, say. My total cost for lodging for my 40 nights on the Camino de Santiago was $813, which comes out to $20 per night. My biggest tip when it comes to lodging is to invest in good earplugs and a comfortable eye mask, because those two items will allow you to sleep in any style of accommodation and could end up saving you a ton of money. I recommend a specific brand of silicone earplugs and a specific eye mask that I've totally fallen in love with, and I'm going to link those in the description below. So those are the two major spending categories. Now I have a few other categories left that might surprise you, so stick around. I'm gonna run through those quickly. The first category is supplies. Now you're going to be a great pilgrim. You're going to bring everything that you need with you, but let's say you run out of toothpaste or floss along the way. Well, you're going to need to pick those items up at a local pharmacy. I spent $95 total in the supplies category, and that included things like toothpaste, floss, ibuprofen, compression socks, foot cream that I got from this really interesting doctor who makes his own foot cream. It also includes souvenirs. I bought this bracelet from some people in a van who were selling bracelets, still wearing it. I bought a couple little Camino books, so that includes souvenirs as well. So again, the total for that supplies category was $95. My next category is miscellaneous. This is going to be different for everyone, but I recommend budgeting $75 to $100 for miscellaneous things that pop up along the way. For me, the cost for my miscellaneous category was $74, and that includes things like a haircut. I got a haircut for, I think it was $15. I went to the foot doctor in Saria because I was having foot pain, so I went to see a foot doctor. So that includes that cost, and it also includes a birthday cake that I bought for a friend. So just go ahead and throw $75 to $100 in your budget for a miscellaneous expense. My next category is transportation. In transportation, I spent $76. That includes my first day of getting to Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port. I took a train and a bus on that day, and that also includes a few taxis, because when my foot started hurting, I took taxis, I think 3 different taxis, because I couldn't do the walk on that day, and I wanted to continue moving on with the friends that I had made. Throw in, I don't know, $50, $75 just for transportation while you're on the Camino. My final category is laundry. Now I spent $46 while I did my Camino on laundry, which might surprise you because you can do your laundry by hand. But after a while, if you run into a washer and dryer, and somebody will wash your clothes, dry your clothes, and hand them back to you folded, you're probably gonna wanna splurge and do that, because the chores kind of start to become a lot along the Camino of every night I do my laundry. And then we were also making these group dinners, so every night I'm making dinner, doing laundry, and sometimes it was nice to just have somebody take that task off of my hands. So you could budget probably I probably did laundry 4 or 5 times along the way, but you could budget maybe $20 to $40 for laundry along your Camino. It's time to give you the grand total, drum roll please, of every penny that I spent on the Camino Francés. So my grand total was $2,391, coming out to $58 per day. So you can take that number and you can add that to however many days you think it's going to take you, whether that's down to 25 or whether that's up to 50. Just multiply it by $58 and you'll know that you can drink a lot of coffee, have a good amount of wine, and splurge on a few things here and there, and you probably are not going to go over that number. If you're a seasoned pilgrim and you have some budget tips to share, or you know what your daily budget was on your Camino, please comment below, because I would love for the comment section of this video to be an excellent resource for the pilgrims who are getting ready to walk. So now you know what to expect while you walk your Camino, but what about the expenses that occur before you even get started? Let's touch on those. These expenses are going to vary widely depending on where in the world you're coming from and how much experience you have doing something like this. So let's talk about your international flight. Well, if you're coming from the US like I was, you're going to have your round trip international airfare. That cost me somewhere around $1,200 to fly from St. Louis, Missouri to Madrid and back again. So you can budget, you can probably consider at least $1,000, up to even $1,400 depending on when you're flying and when you book your flight. Something else to consider when coming from the US or other parts of the world is jet lag. Do you want to fly to Spain and start your Camino the next day? Or do you want to leave a 4 or 5 day buffer before you start to get over your jet lag before you start walking your Camino? Because let me tell you, walking the Camino is an adjustment for your body. I didn't want to make that adjustment for my body while I was also adjusting to the new time zone. So what I did was I flew to Madrid, I took a train to San Sebastian, and I spent 4 days at the beach hiking and getting ready for my Camino and sleeping a lot to get ready and to get rid of that jet lag before I started walking. I highly recommend, if time allows you to, that you do the same, that you give yourself time to adjust to the new time zone before you walk your way. The next thing to consider is gear. Have you ever done anything like this before? If not, you may need to get a lot of new gear. Lightweight gear, ultralight gear is best, and let me tell you, it is not cheap. So make sure you pop over to the other video that I have made on this channel. I made 2 different videos. I made one all about my Camino packing list. I made that before I left. It's an amazing resource. Tap the link here to watch that. And I made a second video upon my return home where I went over everything that I brought, and I tell you, these are the things that I loved. These are the things you cannot leave home without. These are the things that I probably should have left behind because they were dead weight. So click here to watch that post-Camino gear review. The last expense to consider that I never leave home without is travel insurance. I have been buying travel insurance for well over a decade for every single trip that I go on overseas, and it has paid off in so many ways. I've had to spend the night in a hospital in Nepal. I've gotten really sick in several countries and had to go to the doctor to get antibiotics. And you submit those claims to your travel insurance. And depending on the type of insurance that you buy, you could be reimbursed 100%. So I'm going to leave a link below in the description of this video for Safety Wing. It's an affiliate link. This is the company that I use and the company that I work with for my travel insurance. So check that out in the description. Thank you so much for watching this video. It literally means the world to me. And if you got value from this, please hit the subscribe button and turn on those notifications so that you get notified every time we make an awesome video. Thanks again for watching. Until next time, buen camino.